My hot neighbor's alone for Thanksgiving and I invite him over. I'm sorry, Gavin. Your mum and I are trying our best. But with the storm coming in, I don't think we'll make it. The words felt like a knife to the gut. And not because I was literally walking out of the grocery store with my haul. I know, Dad. We really want to see you. Let me talk with Linda, and I'll see if there's any way that we can drive there. The snowstorm canceled all our flights, including Cameron's. That stinks, I forced out. Even though I was a little relieved I didn't have to see Cam and his girlfriend, Jackie. It would only make me feel worse about how behind I am in life. Well, let me know. We still have a couple of days. I will. Thanks for understanding. Gav, love ya. I love you too. I hung up, gripping my shopping cart a little tighter. What the heck do I do now? Rubbing my temples, I weighed my options. Maybe Kenneth will want to spend Thanksgiving together? I called him, explaining the situation. Please don't let this go to waste. It was my first Thanksgiving at my new place, and I was looking forward to cooking for everyone. While I could live without my overbearing and clingy parents, I wanted to do something nice for everyone. Sorry, Gavin. My girl's asking me to go with her to her family for Thanksgiving. My mom and dad may be divorced, and a pain in the ass to deal with, but I gotta go for her. I get it. Maybe we can hang out after the holidays. For sure. Say, what about that Brett guy? The neighbor that's always alone. What? The cranky guy that gets mad at me if I use my hacksaw too loudly to work on my woodworking projects? No, absolutely not. I don't know, Kenneth. I don't think he likes me. You never know. It might be good. Maybe he's just lonely. I doubt it, I muttered. But I'll give it a shot. I hang up, sighing. I didn't want to invite Brett. Sure, he's hot. In that older guy sort of way. But still, he probably thought I was a nuisance. That annoying neighbor that brought down the place. Still, having one person over for Thanksgiving was better than none. I headed back to the car and drove back to my place. The entire time mustering the courage to go over to see Brett after I put the groceries away. An hour later, I stood in front of Brett's doorway, feeling a mixture of emotion. He's probably going to say no. He thinks I'm annoying. I mentally berated myself and raising my hand to knock. A moment later, the door creaked open. Brett stood there, his cold, grayish blue eyes looking at me. His hair was nicely combed back, and the gray turtleneck complemented his figure. Why was I thinking about my neighbor like this? There's no way he's into guys. Gavin, what are you doing here? He asked gruffly. Hi, sorry to, bother you. I just wanted to ask you something. Go ahead, he said calmly, but his eyes continued to stare at me expectantly. I gulped, feeling all the courage I had mustered dissipate. His gaze held something more than just disdain. Perhaps curiosity? I, wanted to ask what you were doing for Thanksgiving. Nothing, he replied quietly. I don't have plans. I was just... Oh, I'm so bad at this. You can tell me. Behind the coldness, I felt a strange warmth. Like he wanted to hear what I had to say. I wanted to see if you'd like to come over and celebrate. My family bailed, and nobody else would come over. So I thought, sure, why not, he said. I stood there, wondering if I heard things right. Did he want to spend time with me? Of all people. Are you sure? Of course. Just because I find you loud sometimes doesn't mean I don't like you. Gavin, it would be nice and a little less lonely for both of us. I nodded. Agreed. You can come over whenever. Sure. I'll be over there around noon to help. I appreciate it. See ya. He closed the door, and I clutched my chest. My heart was racing at the speed of light. Why did Brett make me feel this way? I never got nervous. It wasn't just because we had our disagreements. He looked so attractive. Biting my lip, I retreated back to my house to get my mind off things, and hopefully stop my heart from racing out of my chest. 3 days later, wait. So now you can come. I know it's last minute, Gav. I'm sorry. I packed around. Feeling a bit nervous. Mom, I don't appreciate you changing your mind. You invited us, she pointed out. Okay, fair. But the flip-flop drove me crazy. True. Are you guys driving? Cameron and Jackie got a flight out to California, so they're here with us. We're excited to see you. Lovely. I'm excited to see you too. I hung up, leaning against the counter. Why did they do this? Why did they choose to tell me at the last minute? Now I have to explain everything to Brett. Would he be okay with it? I hope so. I felt bad dropping this on him. I guess if he really hated it, he could leave the next day. I hope I'm not too early. I opened the door and smiled. Thankful I got up at 7 a.m. and didn't sleep in. It was only 10, and I already feel frazzled. You're fine. I was up early. Come on in. Brett smiled softly and took a few steps in. He wore another turtleneck, this time more neutral color, which accentuated his thin yet toned arms. As he walked on by, I caught myself staring at him. Gav, he's probably not into dudes. Chill. Brett looked at the table, noticing all of the places. Are we expecting more people? I sighed and nodded. Yes, my mom and dad decided to come at me the last minute. They're inviting my brother, Cameron, as well. I'm sorry. I didn't say anything sooner. Brett shook his head, and he rested his hands on my shoulder. The touch alone felt like sparks ignited between us. It's not a problem, really. You sure? I thought you didn't like people. Brett chuckled. You got me all wrong. I'm just a lonely guy. That's all. My parents and I haven't spoken in well over a decade. We argued, and they decided they didn't want me in their lives. But I don't mind getting to know your family. Unless you don't want it to be something personal. Oh, not at all, I replied. They're just a bit clingy and overbearing, and my brother Cameron's a braggart. I'm sure we'll be all right, he calmly assured me. The anxiety that brewed within me dissipated. Thank you, Brett. You're right. You are too, Gavin. I'm sorry I'd known you all wrong. It's all right. We both had each other all wrong, I admitted. Brett was really sweet, a charming man underneath. I looked at his other hand and saw a pumpkin pie there. We put it in the fridge and decided to work on the rest of the food, bidding out time until the family showed up. 2 hours later. Okay, Mom and Dad did not tell me it would be my aunts and uncles too. What was supposed to be a setup for maybe 6 people turned into 10 when a couple of my aunts and uncles came. One of them brought their kid too, who didn't eat. It was chaos. People spoke, and my mom was hovering around making sure I did everything right. I think it's ready to be taken out. I know, Mom, I replied. Don't worry, I've got this. I pulled out the stuffing and settled it onto the counter. She grabbed it and smiled. Good job. By the way, that Brett guy is very sweet. Is he a friend? He's my neighbor, I calmly explained. He didn't have anyone for Thanksgiving, and, well, I invited him over. Oh, I thought you finally got a boyfriend. My face heated at her words. No, Mom, it's not like that. She laughed. I'm teasing. You know, we're only looking out for you. We care, and we want what's best for you. Indeed, grabbing some of the dishes to put on the table. By the way, nice job. It made the trip worth it. I'm glad, I said, feeling embarrassed about all of this. Mom and Dad continued to intrude into the kitchen, insisting that they always needed to help me. We were out of dinner rolls because the ones I got were stale. Brett had some at his place, so he brought them. It was chaos. Utter chaos. When we finally settled to eat, Mom and Dad talked, and Cameron bragged about how he and Jackie were living on a beach and got to surf every single day. So Brett, what's your and Gavin's relationship? We looked at one another. Brett coughed and smiled. He's my neighbor. He invited me over. I do appreciate this. You're all wonderful people. You're wonderful too, my mother said, eyeing me. You're a good man, Brett. Gavin needs someone like you. Mom, I exclaimed. Why does she have to be like this? She was trying to invade my life and force so much on me. When I told her I was gay, she was rattling off all the guys I could date. I'm flattered, Linda. That's something Brett and I would have to discuss. Wait, was he serious? My face reddened again, as if it couldn't get any redder. Dinner continued, and Cameron stealing the show? However, all I could think about was Brett and what he said. Did he want to date me? I refused to believe it. But as they talked amongst themselves, and my parents continued to tell me that I had to come and visit them, all I could think about were his words. Later that night, I closed the door and breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, it's over. Much to my relief, everyone got a hotel for the night and didn't need to stay here. I walked over to Brett, who sat on the couch, nursing a cup of hot cocoa. Your family's nice. You mean crazy, I retorted. Brett laughed. Crazy, yes, but I can tell that they care about you a lot. It's wholesome to see. I'm glad you think so. Sometimes I wonder if they're trying to drive me crazy. I think it's more from a place of love than anything. It's sweet and something I wish I had. Brett's face fell and a frown appeared. A part of me wanted to ask, but I wasn't sure if it was right for me. I'm glad you had a good time. Though I was worried after the crazy incident with the rolls and nearly burning the turkey. I felt like I was going crazy. I get that, he replied. He inched a bit closer until his legs brushed against mine. You did your best and I appreciate it. I miss being close to my family like that. Silence filled the room. I wanted to ask him what happened. Why don't you talk to your family? Brett sighed and looked down. I'm gay. Oh, whoa. So my mum's comments weren't her just trying to get a rise out of me. I didn't know that. It's not like I broadcasted to the world, he grumbled. Yeah, but yeah, when I came out, my very Christian family wanted nothing to do with it, so they cut me off. It's been 10 years since we last saw each other. I'm sorry. Brett shrugged. It is what it is. So I have to ask, was your mum teasing you about... Oh, the comment. Yeah, I'm gay too. I'm the odd one out, working a boring desk job and single, while my brother gets to surf the waves in Cali with his model girlfriend. They've been asking for ages when I'd get a boyfriend. And I don't know. Is there a reason why you don't want to date? Because I haven't found the right person. I mean, you're attractive, but I doubt that you'd want something. Brett moved a little bit closer until our lips almost brushed. His hot breath makes me heady. I mean, I do find you attractive as well, Gavin. I have for a bit. You mean... Before I uttered my next worst, he kissed me. All thoughts were silenced, and soon I was kissing him back. Brett put his cocoa on the table as his lips met mine. I drank up each and every moment, enjoying the closeness. He pulled away and smiled. I like you, Gavin. A lot. Thanks for making this Thanksgiving special. Same here, Brett. I liked you too. We kissed again, fireworks exploding between us. Before I knew it, Brett whisked me away to the bedroom. The night became special, as not only was it the first Thanksgiving at my new place with my chaotic family, but it was also the first time in years I hooked up with a guy, and it was special. The next day, Brett left before I got up. I wanted to ask him about his feelings and options of last night, but I didn't want to pry. I started early Christmas shopping since Mom insisted on me visiting them for Christmas. I didn't want to, but it seemed right. As I pressed the aisles, looking for something for everyone, I stopped at some cologne. It smelled nice. Next to it sat a gray, angrily sweater. I picked it up and looked at it. Brett would look nice in this. It seemed silly to buy something for a guy I wasn't even dating, but I wanted to do something nice. Brett meant something special to me. After some hesitation in the store, I finally bought it. I went to Brett's place after I got home, but he didn't respond. Sighing, I went back home, wondering if I fell too hard, too fast for a guy like him. A week later, Brett and I didn't talk a whole lot since the last night we hooked up. I tried to get close, but even the smallest conversations at the front of his place were few and far between. At first, we spent time together, where he would invite me over, and we cook or show me the art he'd worked on. However, over each days, his distance started to become more apparent. We exchanged numbers, but didn't say much to each other. Was I doing something wrong? Was I pushing things too fast? The last boyfriend I had was in college, and we broke up because of career reasons. I didn't know much about dating then. Finally, I asked Brett if he'd like to go ice skating with me. He said sure, but as I read the text, it felt like something was wrong. Brett wasn't open or happy. Was it me? Or something else? The thought racked my brain as I tossed and turned throughout the night. 2 days later. "Oh, I'm glad you could make it." "I told you I'd come," Brett teased. And I smiled. The lights in the park were up, and they even had a small ice skating rink for the season. "It's a little corny, but I figured it might be fun." "I'm glad you did," I replied, feeling my heart skip a beat. How does being around one person for more than a second get me like this? We walked over to the lights, and Brett and I took selfies together. He smiled, a rarity I noticed, and it warms my heart. It really does feel like we're a couple. We go ice skating together. It's awkward, but also really fun. Brett teaches me how to move on the ice. I fall a couple times, but his large protective hands hold me. Our bodies lingering close together, and my throat goes dry. He could kiss me again, just like before, but my insides bubble thinking about it. After skating, we headed to the parking lot. Brett turns, grabbing my hand. "Thank you for inviting me out, Gavin." "Of course, I enjoyed it." "Me too." His expression changes, becoming more serious. "This is the first time in a while I've gone on a date. I had a wonderful time, and I'd love to do it again." I stand there, taken aback. "I'd love that." "Good. You've shown me how fun it is to date again. I've missed this." "Believe me, I have too. I can't remember the last time I went on a date like this." I feel the same. We lean in, sharing a soft, simple kiss. It's perfect. And for a moment, time stops. The only thing that matters is his soft lips and the pull of our bodies gravitating towards each other. The next day. "Hey, Brett." I walked over and hugged him. He hugged me back, but then I noticed he seemed a little more distant. "Hey, Gavin. It's good to see you." "It always is. Sorry if I'm a bit forward." "No, it's fine. I like it." "Your parents all right?" "Yes. They haven't stopped asking about you since Thanksgiving," much to my relief. Brett chuckled. "That's good." We sat down and talked while dinner was cooked. When it was ready, I went into the kitchen and got it out, spooning the pasta and chicken onto the plates. We ate in a comfortable silence, but the tension became obvious. There was something I wanted to ask Gavin, since I wanted to go with him. After we finished, we went to the couch, and then I popped the question. "Hey, so, Mum and Dad, they're inviting me over to their place for Christmas. They're paying for everything." "Wow, that's sweet." "Yeah. I figured maybe we could go together." Brett's expression changed and soon became hardy. "I don't know." "Why not?" "It might be fun, and I'm not sure if I'm ready to settle down." It's hard for me to do so. I paused, worry flowing through me. "I'm sorry?" "It's not you," he sighed. I had some bad relationships in the past. Got cheated on, and a guy left me for another woman. One of them almost ruined my art career. So I'm not sure if I'm ready to take things too seriously." It made sense. Even if it did break my heart a little, I nodded. "That's fair. I don't want you to be uncomfortable." Brett chuckled. Brett clutched my hand. "It's not you. If you're willing to take it slow, then I wouldn't mind that." "Thank you for understanding," Brett said. He kissed me softly, and my heart ignited. A feeling of regret pained me as well. "It's not you, it's me. I just prefer to take things slower." "I get it." We kissed again, making out on the couch. When it was time to leave, we said our goodbyes. My heart raced. I didn't want to lose Brett. Then again, he He wanted to take things slow. I could respect that. At least, little did I know that after that exchange, Brett would disappear and I would be unable to contact him. Brett didn't answer any of my calls or texts. And he wasn't even home. I felt frustrated. Was I too forward? Did I scare him off? I hated myself for doing that. I thought we had something special. I thought Brett cared. I tried everything I could to reach him. But then there was nothing. Finally, I got a call from a mysterious person. "You're Gavin, right?" "Yes. Who is this?" I asked. "I'm Amelia with the hospital." Brett Carson came in. He passed out, and he asked for you to come in. "I'll be right there." I hung up the phone and drove over to the hospital with a flurry. Tears prickled my eyes. "Please be safe, Brett. I care about you." It wasn't just a mere care anymore. It was something more. Maybe love. I pulled up and raced inside and found his hospital room. After some arguing with the nurse that he'd asked for me, I rushed inside. Bruises covered Brett's body, and his face looked pale. "Brett?" I raced over, grabbed his hand. He turned to me and smiled. "You're here. Thank you." "What happened?" Brett looked down. "I got into a bad accident while driving for a bit. I'm sorry for going away. And it's fine. You're here now. I'm here now. That's what matters." I held his hand, and he told me what happened. Apparently, Brett felt so regretful because he was worried about getting serious that he went on a long trip. He drove at night, which is something he rarely does, and a truck hit him. It was a miracle the guy was alive. Still, I was happy. He was there, and I planned on staying with him. 2 days later, Brett was discharged from the hospital. I drove him back, and after bringing him to the door, he grabbed my hand. Our eyes met, and I saw something else in his eyes. Regret and pain. "Gavin, I need to talk to you." "Sure," I said, following him inside. He closed the door, and before I got a word out, his lips met mine. Shocked at his upfront behavior, he pulled back and touched my cheek. "I'm sorry for everything. Gavin, I left because I was scared of falling in love." "It's all right. We're here now together. I wanted to be with Brett. If not kissing things, if it meant taking things painfully slow, then so it would be." He nodded, sighing. "I wanted to try again. I think I love you, Gavin. And I wanted to take things more seriously. I'm sorry for being so indecisive." "It's all right," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "But what matters is that we're here now, together. I want to try again as well." We shared another kiss and hooked up. Tonight felt different. It wasn't just out of lust, but instead something more. I asked him if he would come with me to my parents' holiday. With a bright smile, he nodded. "I would love that, Gav, as long as it's with you." Christmas Day. Brent and I went into my parents for Christmas. Just like I expected, they were clingy, and it was utter chaos. And yet, I didn't hate it. Mom and Dad asked about Brett, and when I told them about our relationship, they wholeheartedly supported us, and they wanted the best for the two of us. We exchanged gifts, and then it was my turn to give Brett his gift. I handed it over. I got it right after Thanksgiving. I figured we had something special. Brett opened the package and pulled out the sweater and the cologne. His eyes widened, and excitement sat on his face. "I love it! It's beautiful!" "Thanks. I'm glad that you like it." Brett pulled me into a tight hug and kissed me softly. Mom and Dad cheered, and I looked away feeling embarrassed. "I love you, Gav," he whispered in my ear. I turned and kissed him on the cheek. "I love you too, Brett. And I'm glad we could have this together." Conclusion. Brett and I got even more serious. 2 years later, he proposed to me while we were at an art show together. Of course I said yes. He's the best thing that could ever happen to me. Our relationship grew stronger. Brett and I learned to fall in love with each other. My parents were happy, and for once, they seemed excited for what was to come. Brett's family never knew about us, but that's okay. We had each other, and love and support in other places. At the end of the day, that's what matters. The end. Have you ever invited someone unexpectedly over for the holidays? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching. Consider subscribing to become a part of the Rainbow Force. And stay wholesome.